Amen, can you come on over here? This is the real thing. This is our Capoeira connection right here. This is Amen.
Hey guys, got a really great guest for you today. Capoeira master, Mestre Amen Santo. A lot of you might recognize him as Mark Dacascos's instructor in the film Only the Strong. He was also his real world instructor as far as teaching him capoeira. So this is a really fun interview. I think you guys will quite enjoy it. And I've got to give a special shout out to Luis Esteban, who hooked me up with Mestre Amen. A lot of people ask, hey, how do you get all these great guests? Well, a lot of it just comes from word of mouth. So, for example, I had Sheldon Lenich on the channel who put in a good word, and he got me Luis Esteban who put in a good word, and he got me Mestre Amen Santos. So one guest leads to another, and this is just another part of that deep dive into the world of Only the Strong and Capoeira. Check out this playlist, by the way. There's so many Only the Strong related content. I mean, I got Paco Prieta, Mark Dacascos, of course, Sheldon Lenich, Luis Esteban, and now Mestre Amen. One thing that I'm not aware of, and I know a lot of people would be curious, like, is there a sort of ranking or belt system like traditional martial arts?
It is. We call that corda or cordel, which is a rope, and there's different levels. Like in our schools, we started green, then go green, yellow. It's equivalent to the Brazilian flag
Okay.
colors, right?
Mhm.
So green, yellow, blue, and white. So it depends what level you are. You keep mixing the color. So you have, like the green belt is the entry point. Then the green yellow is the second. Then half for green, half yellow is just the third belt. Then you go on yellow, and you keep combining different ways until you get to uh, mix green white, mix yellow white. I mean braided, right? Braided, and then you lose all the colors, and you go just white. White is the last one.
Oh, so it's like the opposite of most martial arts. So you
Yeah,
end at the white
it's
belt.
opposite. You started with something, you end with nothing. So
Oh, that's
it
interesting.
is really about not hold on to possessions, but really understand that there's a journey. And
Hmm.
then when you get to that level of expertise, so you really now is ready to let everything go and be in that beginner's mindset again.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense because I've always thought with traditional martial arts, and I'm a martial artist myself,
Mhm.
that the black belt in the traditional martial arts is really the beginning, right? So it kind of sounds very similar to capoeira as well. The
Yeah,
mindset's like that's the real true beginning.
yeah. If you go back in history, there was no ranking in capoeira because how we used to know how if you're able to become a master or someone that be recognized as a master. It was by we did a lot of streets, roda, as we call, like we did a lot of the battles or the games that we call. There was more street like, So you come in and you sort of had to prove yourself with the best, right? So you go against the best, and when you're playing certain level, and when you're able to hold your own, that's when people acknowledge you as one of them.
Okay. But you guys aren't actually hitting each other, are you? You're just
Yeah.
dancing in front. You are hitting each other?
Well, yes, that's the thing about capoeira. Originally, capoeira was used to fight against slavery.
Hmm.
So because of the situation during slavery, capoeira was disguised as a dance. So a lot of times when you see people doing acrobatics, doing movements, they're practicing skills,
Hmm.
but they're not really connecting, uh, fighting. So even today, people they are very confused about capoeira because capoeira is so well disguised that you can sometimes you cannot even see the danger behind it.
Yeah, because I want to talk about and better understand like the real world self-defense applications because that's what it was created for, and then it was designed and hidden as a beautiful dance. And so
Mhm.
most people won't take it serious as far as no, this stuff can actually protect you in real life.
Well, that's the thing. I guess people there, when you talk about fighting, they have to be stiff, they have to be rigid, you know. If you let's go back to boxing, okay? Like Muhammad Ali, why he was so effective? Because he was a great dancer.
Hey, float like a butterfly. Yeah, great dancer. Good
You know,
movement.
he was a great dancer, and people took that for granted, and boom, you're down.
Mm,
You know, look Bruce Lee. He was incredible dancer.
true.
So there's elements of relaxation in capoeira that people cannot see, but there's a lot of power behind it. So
Mm.
I really believe when you can, if I see something coming, I can do something about it. But if I have no idea what's gonna happen because somebody's loose and playing, all of a sudden, boom, so you got caught by surprise, right?
Yeah. As far as the martial arts aspect, so you guys only kick though, right? There's no actual hand movements for striking.
Well, we do elbows, we do fists,
Elbows, back fists. Okay.
the back fist, we do palm of hands. We don't do the traditional boxing, but there are elements of hands that we use as well.
Hmm.
Uh, but again, when you see in a setting that people are demonstrating capoeira, typically they don't show the combat part of it. A lot of the movements that would be very direct, like breaking the leg, going through the throat, poking the eyes, elbow to the throat. They're we have all this, but we don't. When people see going so fast, they don't see it because that's the whole point. You don't want to show what you're gonna do.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes
Mhm,
sense.
mhm.
So when you see the capoeira guys and girls doing the movements and the techniques in front of each other, like you and Mark Dacascos, for example, near the beginning of Only the Strong, that's considered your sparring, right?
No, that's not sparring.
That's not sparring.
No, not at all. What we were doing in the beginning, if you watch the movie again, we are practicing skills. So you're practicing speed, we are practicing balance, we are practicing, there was more the disguise things that we do. So it wasn't actually a combat. But when you see Mark Dacascos actually in action, uh, fighting, he's doing all the capoeira movements. Everything he practiced, now he have to apply into the fighting situation a whole different way.
Hmm.
And because it's more direct, a lot of people they cannot recognize. And that's the point.
Yes, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Now, does capoeira actually have sparring then? And if so, does it not look like the dance?
Well, you can mix both. That's the interesting thing. I can be being playful, but trying to make you believe something, but then I'll do something else. So it's really creating that space where you have that advantage. Instead of showing that emotion, showing that anger, that smile, that way, that we play, how we regime that, uh, it's gonna give you the impression, oh, this guy's not doing nothing, and then something else will happen.
Hmm. Yeah. I want to ask you this.
Yes.
You look really good as far as healthy, young, but of course you're older because you were an adult in Only the Strong, and that movie came out like in the early 90s. So you're definitely older, even though you don't look it. My question, because capoeira, very acrobatic, seems more suited for younger people. Like, are you still able to do all your flips and all that crazy stuff you were doing in the movie, or?
Well, what I'll say by choice, if I decide to do it, yes, I can. But today's my birthday, by the way.
Oh,
And
happy birthday. Wow.
yeah, and believe it or not, I'm 58 years old. I'm
Wow.
58 and I can do a lot of the things that I did in the movie. And but here's the thing, it comes down to how you take care of your health, how you take care of your body, your mind, your body, your soul. Uh, and I think what I like about capoeira is that there are so many elements. If I'm playing the berimbau, I have this moment of meditation that I use the vibrations to really calm my mind and my body,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And if I sing, I actually release stress, you know, uh, instead of a hold on, like, I'm tough, I allow to go through it, just through me, and so the music, the instrument, I'll give you an example. Give me 2 seconds.
No, of course, not all of you are going to get a chance to train in capoeira and get those anti-aging benefits, but I got something else that could help. Collagen peptides from 5 different sources of collagen. It also has dermavol, which is made of 9 phytonutrients that helps your body produce its own collagen and supports elastin. So, yes, all this stuff will help the anti-aging because it'll help your skin, your hair, your nails, your joints, which is very important, especially for us martial artists and lifters, but anyone in general. Like the joints, as you age, they degrade and you don't feel as good moving around. So you need to get on a supplement like this. Linked in the description below. It tastes amazing. Just throw it in your coffee, mix it up, dissolve it. Putting it in your morning protein shake works. Have it post workout. Just try to get some throughout the day, and that will help you age. Maybe you will at least look a little bit better when you get older. Maybe not like Mestre Amen, but you could at least do something like this to help.
So if I have the berimbau, and the berimbau came to capoeira late on because this instrument is an ancient instrument and was used to heal the body.
Mm.
Its vibration was used to heal the body, right? And so when I put this either my belly or heart, so people they say, oh, it makes sounds, right? It was just doing music, but there's this connection that vibrates inside of me that makes me relax, that makes me whole. So
Mm.
actually, when it started moving, I can move better because I'm more connected with it, because there's the outer, all the visual stuff that people see, but the capoeira is very spiritual too. So there's this inner connection they need to have in order to perform 100%. And and these slaves, they use music, prayers, and songs so they can create courage to fight against the Portuguese, to
Mm.
fight against the slave masters, the Dutch. So they actually use this martial art, capoeira, to fight, and they were very efficient. So, but because of the history and the background of this art form, even today, when people see like, oh, capoeira is the only art that plays music, that sing songs, that will preserve history.
Yes. Very unique. And even though it
Mhm.
originated from an ugly past with slavery and oppression, it became something very beautiful. Like people love watching it and the music sounds good and people are happy. So it just became such a beautiful thing, even though the roots of it were kind of in ugliness, why it had to get developed.
Yeah, imagine like when we are forced to be, working as slave, on the sugarcane plantations in Brazil, and and you put like, you're forced to be on a boat for months and months, in very harsh, very harsh conditions. And getting to Brazil, being in situations where you have to work hard labor, like for long hours, from dawn to dusk, always doing things we're not supposed to be doing. And still be able to create and do things and be able to survive, that, because this is an art of survival.
Mm. Now, the music and the instrument, is this something that every student must learn as they're moving up the ranks?
Yeah, is even the music, we talk about histories, things that happened in the past, and we'll bring the past and the present together.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
there's a dialogue with something that happened before, but we also moving forward in this life. So there's this dialogue between, what happened in the past, where we are today, and where we're going next.
Okay.
And so, yes, answer your question. The students, they need to learn this part of the requirement to really learn how to play the instrument, how to sing your songs, and be able to connect that and keep the energy flowing as we do, capoeira in a roda, in a circle.
Okay. Yeah. One thing I want to know is how you got introduced and started, because I've heard this story. Only to Strong's such a popular movie, which I want to talk a little bit more about later. But there's a story that Mark Dacascos was looking for a new martial art.
Earl White, another sparring partner of mine since I was 16, another student of my mom and dad's. He said that he had this amazing capoeira teacher named Mestre Amen Santo in Santa Monica, California.
And he found you in, I believe, Santa Monica in an airport hangar. But I want to know how you ended up there.
Well, I'll start how I got involved. I was born and raised in Brazil, Bahia, in a city called Salvador. And basically, I was born and raised in the slums of Brazil. And literally, capoeira saved my life.
Oh, nice.
It saved my life because a lot of the people, friends that we grew up, in Bahia, they not long alive because
Oh, wow.
they started doing things that, like gangs and
Mhm.
drugs, all this stuff, and the end of it, so it cannot be pretty.
Yeah.
But I remember when I was 7 years old, I was walking with my mom to this market near our neighborhood called Aguinaldo, and there was a group of men playing the instrument and doing capoeira, and I was this little guy, and I got so curious and started like watching and looking, and I was captivated by the grace and the efficiency, how they were moving, and doing things like I never seen in my life. So that was my introduction. And about 6 or 8 months later, I realized the guy that was conducting that event, he was teaching and making instruments like nearly next door to my house.
Oh, really? Wow, that's
Yeah,
convenient.
so I started going there, and that's how I got introduced to the art. And I started like doing, playing with the kids, and he would show some movements, and that was my way in.
Okay.
And so from there, capoeira became my thing. I was so captivated by that. I used to train all the time. I was helping this master making instruments and painting.
This instrument is the berimbau. It sets the pace for the jogo, the game.
And from there, I started like going more to the street rodas. That's where I really got my capoeira, because that's what was happening then. There was not academy. There was some academy, but the training was in the street.
Okay.
Yeah, it was 90% street based. So I started traveling with the dance company that was doing, was doing folkloric shows. And somehow I traveled the world, and when I actually left the company, I was invited to come to New York City.
Mm-hmm.
And in New York, the weather was horrible. It was so freaking cold that I said, you know what, I'm not gonna stay in New York. I'm
Yeah,
gonna drive.
compared to Brazil, sure.
Yeah. So I drove to LA. In LA, I saw the beach, I saw this, I felt the sun, and I said, no, this is home.
Mm-hmm.
This is my place. So I started like working, doing different things. I slept in a car for about 6 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, just trying to get like, some kind of stability and have enough money to uh to pay rent.
Mm-hmm.
So from there, I started like going to tournaments, like martial art tournament, because I wanted people to know a little bit more about capoeira. But every time I'll enter and competed like with different art, I will sweep. I do all these things that were completely foreign, or nobody really knew what it was, and it looked so weird to them.
Were
And I
these
was,
sparring competitions like,
yeah,
so they were like fighting competitions you were doing?
fighting competition.
Okay.
Yeah, and I always got disqualified every step of the way because everything that I was doing was completely unknown.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
at the same time, it was great because it was great to get exposure.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, from that, getting more people like curious about capoeira and all this stuff, and then I got a little space and I rent hourly, and that was in Santa Monica, and I started teaching, and in that space I met my first wife, Amy, and we started dating, then eventually got married. And then her mom used to have like a studio, like at the Santa Monica hangar,
Okay.
which is she's an incredible artist, visual artist. And so so there was this space, very tiny space, maybe it was like 400 square feet. It was very small,
Sure.
and so all the space is available, maybe you want to rent and start a class. I said, okay. So I got this space. And that was the space that Mark started training.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a cool piece of the puzzle of the story,
yeah.
how
It's,
you got there.
it's very tiny, 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 tiny space. But but I was so determined to bring capoeira to LA because there was no capoeira in LA. Nobody knew what it was. And Mark, so before that, there was his best friend, Earl White,
Mhm.
which is an incredible martial artist too, good friend of mine. He was training capoeira with me. So he told Mark about me, and that's how we connect. Okay. So, one day he just actually appeared out of the blue.
I get out of my car and I already heard that the birimbau, and I heard clapping and music and the drums. And I walk in and I just remember a flash of white and these feet flying all over the place. And I started smiling. Same thing like when you saw the movie. I started smiling and movements in it. And I asked if I could watch. He said absolutely. And I watched.
And I was teaching class, and he took the class, and from that point forward, he started training. And that was before we knew anything about the movie.
Mm-hmm.
He had no idea about the movie. And
that was, I think, sometime in November. And that is how I started Capoeira in November, just because of life changes and Sifu Bill Owens, Emmanuel, and then ultimately, Earl White telling me, you got to go to this class. Mestre Amen's amazing. And I talked to Mestre Amen. I started classes in November. And then happenstance, serendipity, come January, 3 or 4 months later, My manager calls me and says, "Hey, there's some producers that want you to come and meet with them. They're doing a movie about capoeira."
That's when the movie conversation started to happen, right? So he auditioned for the film, and I guess he got the part, but there was I don't maybe that's something that he needs to describe because I don't know what he what happened after the audition. But basically from there I met he was able to connect with all the producers, director, writers, Stevan. Uh, and one day, I think 8 of them just came to this very tiny space. I already had like maybe 5 or 6 people in the room, and they all came, like, and Marco was there too. And they will have a bunch of questions, what's capoeira? They start like throwing all this stuff. I mean, and they start like showing and demonstrating and explaining what's capoeira, what capoeira was about and all this stuff. And before we know, they're like, okay, we want you to be part of this. I want you to, help consult with the writer, which was Louise and Sheldon. And from there, everything just started unfolding. And before we know, we're training, getting ready for the movie, and training Mark and training myself, and contacting different people to participate. And that was the base, what everything started. And then the long friendship that I have with Mark and Louise, and also the evolution, because Only This Strong was the movie that changed capoeira. I mean, capoeira became this global art.
Big time. That's what's so amazing because
Art.
it's like you're so passionate and capoeira is your life, and obviously you want to spread that, right, and share it.
Right.
And there couldn't have been anything bigger, a bigger way to spread it than like a movie, like a major movie, right? That's amazing.
Yeah. And that's the only movie that actually, a capoeira movie ever.
A great one too.
There are many movies that have capoeira in it, but they're not a
It's
capoeira
not the
movie.
focus exactly.
Yeah, and Only the Strong is all about capoeira, 100% about capoeira.
Yeah, and I used to watch that movie back in 94. I think it came out in 93, but I got it when it was on video. And
Oh
that
my,
even had me. So I was doing taekwondo at the time, but that had me blown away. I never seen that stuff. So, without formal training, I was doing my cartwheels and backflips in my yard. I didn't have any gymnastic classes near me, but that movie inspired me. I was like, oh, I got to try this stuff, just for fun. So, yeah, and a lot of people, just started kind of mimicking what they seen on screen. One thing I want to ask you, so you were a consultant, like at what point did they say, hey, we want you in the movie?
well, I think they knew that. I think right after the first meeting, we started like discussing about ideas, and not very long. I think maybe in a week or two after the meeting, there were already conversation about playing the teacher in the movie. Like be the Mark's teacher like in Brazil, and 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 that was before even the script was written, but that was the base. That was one of the things they discussed.
So they already
But
had you in mind early. That's very cool.
yeah, and one thing that I like to mention that when we talk about how capoeira became so popular around the world, I remember that I went to Singapore. I think it was 96, 97. And when I got there, they were in the lobby of the hotel lobby. There were at least 50, maybe 80 people, all teenagers, right? And they were like, asking like, hey, can you teach us Paranauê? Because they
Mhm.
didn't know the name was Capoeira. Because in the film, the first thing you hear is the song, the berimbau, and
Mhm.
singing Paranauê, Paranauê, Paraná. So they thought that Paranauê was the name of the art.
Okay.
And they started singing Paranauê, and then I started singing. They said, no, 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 show me Paranauê, oh, Capoeira. And then I started like doing Capoeira movements, and it was so interesting to see how people in Singapore at that time, 96, 97, I believe, they had no idea what Capoeira was. And they saw the movie,
Mhm.
but still like they knew the movements, but they didn't know all the history behind, why we did capoeira and all that. So just being there around that time, I was doing a show with my company, and I was able to witness like some of the changes and how people start like really understand what capoeira was.
That's really cool. Yeah, you're right on the forefront of the real globalization of capoeira. Going back to Only the Strong, I'm curious because I hear different versions of stories from different people. So you were not initially the fight choreographer on the film, but then you took that role over. Like, were you Mark and Frank at least working together at one point? And then like whatever happened?
Well, this is a interesting question,
Yeah.
but
Anything related to Frank Dux always going to be interesting. Before we get into the video, I do want to tell you about a supplement company that I'm associated with. No, I'm not getting paid for this, though I wish I was. Regardless, I want to tell you about these amazing products because I know they will benefit you, they will help you if your goals are to get healthier and fitter. Of course, I'm only recommending these products because I actually use them. I know how good they are, highest quality ingredients, and they're delicious. They're so good, you'll actually look forward to consuming them, especially these level 1 protein bars. This is about as close as you can get to having your cake and eating it too. Amazing products aside, I really love this company's values and mission.
We have to bring people up. We have to inspire people to get better. We have to convince people that raising the standards is a solution, or we will lose.
Don't lose. Raise your standards. If you do happen to look into or buy any of these products, I would appreciate it if you do so by clicking the link in the description below as a way of saying thanks for bringing them to your attention, as I will make a small commission. So it's a win-win. You will get amazing products, delicious products that will help you achieve your fitness and health goals, and I will actually get a little support for the channel, which I spend all my free time on, bringing you these interviews and videos. It's a win-win.
Well, he's an incredible guy. He has his own opinion and his own way of doing things, which I think is valid. Is valid. But one thing that, at least for me, what was hard is when you want to do a capoeira movie, and have someone that really doesn't understand what capoeira is,
Yeah.
what capoeira is about, and to claim sometimes that something they don't. It can be a little bit confrontational because they're trying to accomplish something and you want it to be original. Because people now, and that's when things became more and more shaky because I would see things and say, okay, this is not capoeira. This is not how we do things. And maybe he would have a different opinion. But, it just became that game like, okay, I have the experience, I've done this, I've done that. Okay, I get it. But this is not what we're trying to accomplish here now. We're trying to do a capoeira movie. No anything else. Anyhow, I
So his
believe
fight choreography was not capoeira movements. It was martial arts fighting, but not capoeira, which you didn't feel would really match the film.
Yeah, because if you're going to do like a kung fu film, it's fine. A karate film, a taekwondo film, you know, fine. But when you talk about capoeira, you got to use capoeira in a way that's authentic,
Yeah.
and that's when the whole thing started, and I had to step in to do more capoeira uh, instead of just having Frank Dux just do what he thought capoeira was, and I don't think is for me. I don't have anything personal. I don't have anything against him.
Mhm.
I think is very knowledgeable. He has ways of doing things, and for me, I was just trying to do the best I could to have a decent film.
Yeah, that makes sense. It just wasn't a good fit at the end
Yeah.
of the day for that specific role, that he was doing in a capoeira movie.
Mhm.
Hey, what's your favorite best experience from shooting the movie?
Well, I think there are many. I like I like the opening and the closing. There were like something that wasn't planned in the beginning, but it became very present because was important to show at least the energy that capoeira brings into the
Yeah.
screen, and that came across nicely. But for me, I really liked the last fight scene with Paco Prieto and Marta Cascos. Like the very last fight scene and the basketball scene. That fight scene that is really tight because it was fun to film and put everything together for that fight scene, like going from playing basketball to a whole fight scene, which was fun, and I think it's definitely a very memorable
Yeah,
moment.
definitely. I like that fight scene quite a bit. And when you talk about the opening of the film, it's so beautiful because you kind of see the nature and there's like birds flying and then and again, the first time we were introduced to that, like when I first seen it, I was just like, wow, like I've never seen anything like this. These guys are just almost defying physics with these crazy backflips and all that. And Mark Dacascos comes and even though he's out there doing military operations, he's having so much fun and enjoying himself. And then we see you and you give him the instrument and then the party's over, the army comes and takes him back. But such a joyous opening, right?
Yeah, and what it is joyful because that's in a way say goodbye. I don't know when I'm gonna see you again.
Hmm.
So you're really celebrating the moment that we spent together in Brazil. So we're doing all the flips and celebrating. That's what I tell people, not sparring on that one. It's more celebration and acknowledge uh, Mark, main character, uh, that he's going away. He's moving back to the States, and start a new life. So that was exactly uh, the moment that we want to capture. And I think worked really, really nicely.
Yeah, exactly. And the perfect bookend too at the end when now they bring all you guys at the school assembly, and it's that
Right.
joyful moment again.
Right. It's like opening, and also he'd been through a lot. He transformed lives, and then what a great way to finish the movie, just having that. Let's have the people that he's really well connected with be part of that celebration as well. So I think it was perfect. And the writers, man, they did an excellent job. Like, director and writers, you know, incredible.
Definitely. Such a beautiful movie. Holds
Yeah.
up great today. Now, another film you did not too long after that was Kickboxer 4. How did you
Right.
get involved with that?
Well, I was actually right after, I was teaching class, and one of the students was training with, man, I can't remember his name now, but maybe it'll come soon. But he said, okay, they saw the movie on the strong, they're very interested in you to play in a small role in Kickboxer 4.
Mhm.
And so I said, yeah, sure, let me take a look at it and see, So I went to meet with the director and I did a little demo for them. And they said, okay, oh, great. I wanted to put like even some fight scenes, and I did maybe 2 or 3 fight scenes. And that happened so fast. And everything happened like within 2 days, when filming, meeting the director, and the next 2 days just rehearsing and then film the scenes. There were the three or four scenes I can remember correctly
Mhm.
in the movie.
Now, Only the Strong was, of course, a big movie, theatrical released. Kickboxer 4, part of a big franchise, straight to video, so a little bit of a smaller movie. But you were basically in two popular movies. Was
Right.
this something that you wanted to pursue, like acting, or was that never an interest?
Well, I yes, but lately I've been doing a lot of theater,
Okay.
uh, and it's something that I love. As a matter of fact, I'm working a play right now, which is going to be I'll be performing at the Fringe Festival. We're going to have 5 days of performances that it's going to be here in LA, and it's exactly about how the slaves were able to create a community called Palmares, which is a free slave, it was a free community where they welcome not just Africans, but also indigenous people, even Portuguese and Dutch at some point. They were able to be part of this community. So the whole play is about how the slaves were able to create this space, even in a very harsh situation. They were able to have sustainability, to be able to not depend on the Portuguese or the Dutch in order to survive, but really create their own community and be able to survive. So it's a very dramatic story.
Mhm.
Uh, and that's going to be from June 17 to June 23rd, 24th.
Okay.
We could have, yeah, so I'll keep you posted.
And there's capoeira involved in this play, or?
Yes,
Okay.
lots of capoeira. It's something that I'm very excited about it because it's been working this play for the last 15 years. And we are finally in a space that we feel like good about it. And then we can present to the world.
Oh, so you've been developing it for 15 years, but actually had not performed it in front of an
Well,
audience yet.
we perform.
Oh, you
We
had. Okay.
performed it 4 or 5 times,
Hmm.
but it was more like workshops.
Mm.
And now we're really ready to take to the next level and start touring and start really doing what we love to do on stage.
Oh, that's cool. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me ask you this about capoeira, because Louise told me that you have various schools around the world. Can you talk about that? How they were founded?
Yeah, that's the thing. As capoeira, spread all globally,
Yeah.
of course, it in a way created a lot of opportunities to not just myself, but a lot of people uh, in Brazil, outside Brazil. So now you can find capoeira anywhere in the world. I went to Alaska to Barrow, the coldest point I think in the universe.
Wow.
And I was still like, there's no way it's gonna be capoeira here. I was doing like a show there, and sure enough, there was a capoeira there. You
That's
know, it was very interesting. I said, no, nobody wants to be this cold. And, but anyhow, what I'm trying to say that right now, the end of this month, I'm going to Japan. We have a huge group in Japan,
wow.
in Tokyo, and capoeira in Japan is blowing up. You know,
Really?
it's such a big culture. And that's the thing about the Japanese culture. They are very, when they decide to do something, they're very respectful and they're very dedicated.
Mhm.
They'll give 100% on everything. Uh, but yeah, schools like Germany, Japan, Dubai, Brazil, uh, different places, but capoeira now is everywhere, and we keep growing because people, you know, even when I teach here, have people like say if I have students that uh, are from Germany or Poland or Israel, they they get qualified, they train for many years, and they move back home. And
Okay.
so when they move back home, they started teaching.
Mhm.
So they start like a branch, you know, and that's what happened with capoeira right now. It's been happening over the years that, you know, people train for many years and they decide to move on to other cities, other countries, and they start, uh, you know, their own academies. And that's how capoeira is spreading as well. Now, right now, Mark, myself, and Luis, we are talking about we are definitely have something cooking. We really work on something that we're gonna be doing together. You know, I cannot get a lot of details yet, but we are working on something that's gonna be really special on capoeira.
Okay.
So it's a capoeira related, and we are currently like putting all the pieces together. So we stay tuned. We're gonna definitely do something. Uh,
Is it a movie?
well, it's along those lines, right?
Movie or TV show, it sounds like.
It is, you know, but I cannot, unfortunately, I cannot uh, say exactly what it is
Mhm.
because, you know, we're in a process, legal process.
It's a
And
nice tease, at least for the audience, to kind of like plant that seed out there, you know. Here's a little tease, guys,
yeah,
that we look forward to.
yeah, yeah, you're in the process of that. Yeah.
Yeah, let me ask you one more thing. So you have students, some of them trained under you for years, got really good, went back to their own countries, maybe opened up a school, like you said. So I know that martial arts in general is not regulated. So how would somebody, let's say they're in Germany, know they're learning capoeira from somebody who's affiliated with you? Do you have like your own federation, or is there like a certain
Yeah.
type of capoeira you?
Yeah. We also have a federation called International Capoeira Federation.
Okay.
So, and we're getting more and more people involved. Uh, and there are other federations as well, but this one that I'm part of.
Mhm.
Uh, and basically, people they're affiliated to that federation. And also, today is also easier because with the technology that we have available,
Yeah.
you know, it's very easy to know when people are not very transparent
Hmm.
because everything's is faster. Everything moves fast now. So if you claim to be something that you are not, you know, it's not
Oh,
gonna
there's
take
enough
long.
people out there that know the truth and can expose the person. Yeah, that's a good point. Back before the internet, you could just get away with anything, right?